really interesting in terms of sort of scaling business and other stuff. So we've got Sheli McCoy, who's a Scottish CrossFit athlete, a coach, and founder and owner of SweatBox Dundee, and Grant Evans, a world player. We're going to get a bit of insight in terms of scaling. So I don't want to pretend to be an expert in this area. So Sheli, welcome to the show. Maybe we start off yourself. How's it sort of helped you to sort of scale with a payment platform?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always wanted to be involved in health and fitness, and I wanted to be a coach. So I started off being a personal trainer, working one-to-one with clients, and then I just dealt with all my own admin myself, including them booking in with me my calendar and my payments. Whereas as I grew and I wanted to work with more and more people, it definitely reduced my availability of hours because I was dealing with admin. So by basically working with technology and creating an app and then having an embedded payment system, people can now find my gym, they can have a look at the services available, they can book a class, and they can pay for it all in that one app in one place, and I don't have to have anything to do with that, meaning I can spend my time working with clients. So from working with 20 to 30 one-to-one clients, I now have 180 members in my gym. So really, it wouldn't have been possible to scale without having that technology available, and global payments has certainly made it a lot easier for me to have clients from all over attend our gym and pay for their service before they even come in.
Now that's really interesting. And in terms of yourself, Sheli, what was the inspiration behind the business? And like you mentioned there, technology sort of played a part. Can you give an insight to our learners, sort of, like you've sort of mentioned how it sort of helped you scale, but we start with the inspiration to your business. What inspired you to sort of like set the business up?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I've always wanted to be in health and fitness, and I've been a professional athlete in Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit. And for me, it was always about inspiring and educating others. So to do that, I wanted to become a personal trainer to begin with, so I could just basically pass my knowledge on to others, give them the same opportunity to reach their best selves and reach their potential. And then once I realized that, I absolutely loved this job and I wanted to be able to offer my time and knowledge to much more people, it seemed only right to be able to upscale and create a gym, actual facility where people can attend and they can basically work out under my supervision and guidance. So I clubbed together with a professional ice hockey player in the city, his name's Sam. We own SweatBox together, and together we work with kids from as young as 7 all the way up to adults, back into their 70s, into their 80s. And it's just all about getting everyone strong, fit and confident. And yeah, I found it very, very fulfilling in life.
Yeah, you definitely seem really passionate about that's for sure, Sheli. And obviously, sort of like, you're very good at what you do. And I think that it's one thing sort of being good at what you do, like professionally, but I suppose the business side is not always easy. No. It's a whole different environment. Can you maybe give us a bit of an insight before we sort of bring Grant in terms of, say, okay, you're good at what you do, and a lot of people out there, they're good at their profession, but sometimes it's not easy, the business side of it. And we live in a really fast-paced world too now that things are moving so quickly with technology as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right, and I'm absolutely no stranger to being able to tell you I've struggled trying to create an actual business model that helps me with the time I want to spend with people whilst creating even payment methods. I used to take it by cash, or some people pay direct debit, some people would PayPal. There was so many different ways that people were used to their own money handling, and I used to find that quite difficult to stay on track of and even understand whether they made that payment that month, and I'd forever have to go back to my diary. And I think for me, it was difficult to be able to turn what felt like helping people into an actual profitable business. And it's been a few years of trial and error, I would say. But ever since creating an app where everything's in one place, genuinely, it's taken so much stress off my head, because if a payment doesn't go through, I get notification about that. I don't have to go searching for it. It's right there in front of me. When the payments are made, it's a lot easier for me to understand what they've bought, whether it's one single drop-in, a 4-class pass, a membership, and whether on a recurring payment or it's a one-time only thing. And I think, for me, just even understanding that as a small entrepreneur with a passion, I can turn that into a business owner with a fully fledged business that is profitable, and it helps far more people. But again, that is with harnessing the talents of others. So working with Grant, for instance, just allows me to be able to focus on what I'm good at by allowing him to do what he's good at with those payment systems.
Yeah, and absolutely. It sounds really sort of like really interesting and informative there, Shelley, where you get to focus on what your passion is, but obviously sort of like we got to survive in the world. We've got to make an income as well, and that sort of goes without saying. And Grant, sort of, what's your experience been on this, Grant? There's probably people listening in thinking, what we could sort of do if the world's changed. Even if I think back a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago now, it's just things are moving so quick. I have to admit, I'm a member of different apps for fitness as well, and other things like that. Really, I think they'd be quite useful. They're kind of create the sort of balance, but I suppose it's beyond even sort of fitness as well. There's many other industries too. What's your take on that, Grant? Where do sort of people fit in into sort of this sort of, it can be daunting, the technology era?
I think from a World Pay Global Payments perspective, we've definitely seen a shift with small business owners where previously they would have maybe had a one-to-one relationship with a payment provider like ourselves, and it was just another thing that they had to think about when they were setting their business up. And now you have what we call vertical SaaS providers that are in a whole magnitude of sectors, but particularly prevalent in the gym and healthcare space, where Shelley can sign up with one of those providers. They've already embedded a payment solution from a World Pay Global Payments, and it's just on the shelf. They've already been through a buying journey with us to identify, have we got Apple Pay, Google Pay, have we got direct debit, have we got very fast refunds, because 85% of people from our survey, as an example, expect refunds within 48 hours now. Do we have a slick checkout that isn't going to fail and cost them customers, because people are very fickle. 71% of people will abandon their shopping cart if they have a poor payment experience now. These are things that a business owner like Shelley doesn't want to be thinking about. She wants to know that we've already thought about it for her. We're working with her software providers to make sure that the customers have that choice they want. The payments are fast, secure, reliable, and they're not going to damage her business. They're going to enable her business to scale. And a really interesting example of that is the Gen Z and millennial use of gyms and their spend habits in the healthcare space at the moment, where of 15 billion that was processed booking personal training services, gym services, etc. through platforms last year, half of that was in the Gen Z and millennial category, and they have a larger spend by age demographic. If we just take 18 to 24 year olds spending between 20 and 39 pound per booking with a gym app or platform, and that drops right down to 28% of 25 to 34 year olds. So the younger generation are prioritising their health and fitness, but they're also making those bookings through embedded software, and payments is just a plumbing element that sits behind that. But it's very, very important that we do our job properly so that Shelley doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's it sounds sort of really interesting, and like I said, I've had from the perspective of sort of I'm on a few different apps, booking gym or whatever, martial arts class, whatever type thing, and they generally run really, really smooth. I think I can see the logic behind a business owner just being freed up to focus on what they sort of sign up to do, so to speak. But in terms of your business, sort of, Shelley, that's sort of, if anyone listening in sort of is wondering, like, so what do you sort of cover yourself, Shelley? Just out of interest in terms of your own business from a fitness perspective. If someone's sort of listening in thinking, what, that sounds interesting to me, I wouldn't mind finding more information. What I know in the short time we've got
At SweatBox Dundee, we are a CrossFit gym and a High Rocks affiliate and an Olympic weightlifting club. I also have a rehabilitation clinic in here as well for sports and rehab injury, and I've got a recovery room which is infrared saunas and ice baths. So ultimately here, from just being just me in a room as a PT, I've managed to scale and put essentially 5 businesses under one roof here. And that's for everyone and anyone. And our motto here is live stronger, live longer. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your current fitness capabilities are. It even doesn't really matter what your end goal is. We can facilitate improving health, fitness, strength, and wellness. And ultimately, that's our goal. It's just to help improve everyone's quality of life. So you could easily Google Sheli McCoy. You could Google SweatBox Dundee. CrossFit Dundee, the Recovery Rooms Dundee, and they will all come up under the banner of SweatBox because they're all within the same facility.
Now that's brilliant, Shelley. I mean, back in the day, these sort of things were generally kind of more confined for athletes and, say, footballers, for example. They'd be using sort of, whatever, the newest type thing. Obviously, for as big now, and you got the ice bar's been around for a bit. But I think it's great that sort of anyone at any level can access that, because I think in my experience, sort of it does improve the quality of your life if you sort of carry on doing training and be it strength training or fitness as well. I suppose the difficult thing can be, I think, at times is sort of having that support, if that makes any sense, to sort of know where you're up to. Yeah.
100%. I think ultimately, whether it was always designed to optimize an athlete's body, it was just to optimize the human body. And you have one head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, just as I do, just as a professional footballer does. And ultimately, you need to downregulate, to relax, to reduce tension, to improve strength and wellness, regardless whether it's at an elite level or the foundation level of just being a functional human. And I think for us, it's important to understand that there's so many good things that can come out of exercise, fitness and wellness, that we need to make it as accessible and user-friendly as possible for absolutely everyone in every age group, because it can help absolutely everyone physically and mentally.
And just sort of on a final note, Shelley, if anyone's sort of thinking, what, I'm going to sort of, take the plunge and have a go, but they might feel a bit intimidated, sort of a bit maybe not quite sure.
Apprehensive.
Because, it's one of them. Is something that might be apprehensive. I think, if I'm going to go in and start training type thing, am I going to be around sort of, like elite?
I mean,
yeah.
I think you're right. It can be quite intimidating, and people do feel apprehensive when they begin in a fitness studio. But ultimately, everyone needs to do what they can to improve their general health and wellness, because that's how we live a long life, a long, happy life with plenty of functional capacity. And I think ultimately, even from an athlete perspective, from a gym goer's perspective, having a really easy access way to do that made it easier for me to get into it. But then from a business owner's perspective as well, trying to make an environment where everyone feels welcome is definitely something that helps reduce that level of apprehension of people. And I guess I've been able to do that over the last couple of years by just having an app that makes it really easy for people to come join us. So I think that's something as well.
No, that's brilliant, Shelley. I think it certainly makes a difference for sure. Training and sort of doing strength training, it definitely makes a huge difference to sort of, anecdotally I can speak from my own experience, to the quality of life, really. Just sort of it does make a huge difference. But each to their own. I think it's an opportunity out there for people. But it's been great speaking to you. I think it's really, really interesting and informative, and no doubt listeners sort of listening in. And I think that the other side to it too. I think it's like an inspirational story in the sense how you sort of turned a passion into business. That's a challenge for a lot of people. So thanks for your time, Shelley and Grant. It's been great speaking to you, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much. And just if anyone else is trying to scale their business as a young entrepreneur, something I'd tell them to do is just pop onto www.globalpayments.com, have a little look at all of those integrated systems, because if they want to improve their individual small business and upscale, that's something I'd encourage them to actively do, because that will definitely help them do that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for that. Appreciate that, Shelley. So take care and have a fantastic day. Thank you. Take care. Bye.